The Tale of Tony2Metal, written by Raener Lewington. Years ago, there was a metal musician, a true rock star who went by the name of Tony, the destroyer of atonement in the metal community, but was later referred to as Tony2Metal by his newer and younger fans before he passed. Ever since metal made a resurgence in America with the mainstream, his name has been talked about by many, but few ever really knew the tragic and rather evil truth behind Tony and his fame. So, I suppose as one of his last remaining original fans who had been following him since I first heard his first album and know most of his personal life before he passed, I suppose it's up to me to tell his story. Tony Maverick was a young man when he joined on the main metal scene. He was with a band known at the time as Tool, but they kicked him out for a better vocalist and a different style of music. Disheartened, he went home to an angry girlfriend who kept asking him how he was ever going to pay the bills without any effort on his own part. She forced him to make a choice, metal or her. This came after over a year of barely making enough money with his band to get by and to provide financial security for himself and his girlfriend. She gave him that night to decide, but on his way home after picking his stuff up from his old band's garage, he saw a metal contest that offered a cash prize and the opportunity to be signed to a major record label. He brought home a flyer to his girlfriend, and she left him that night, thinking that he didn't care for her. Broken and without much hope, Tony tried to pray to God, to any god for help. He considered praying to Satan himself for help in being able to fulfill his dream and gain back his girlfriend. And in his weakest moment, he tried to imagine a god that would help him fulfill his dreams. And then it happened. From behind him came the voice, shrouded in mystery and suspense.
Hey.
The voice took Tony aback, but he still asked the entity for its help.
What can I have in return for helping you?
Tony was confused with his question, but responded with a simple answer. Anything. The entity thought for a moment, then smiled as it gave Tony a response.
Then I ask for a contract to bind my soul to yours.
Tony was kind of taken aback by this remark, but agreed to the contract. Deal, so long as I can get my girlfriend back and keep playing. The entity laughed and said,
Splendid. And fear not, my boy. I'm gonna make you a star. All I ask is that you do not let this all consume you.
And with that, the entity entered Tony's body and merged with his soul.
I am Abatol, and I will be your guide.
And together, both Abatol and Tony formed a band called Insomniac and rose through the charts on metal, rock, and even landed a couple of songs on the top 40 charts. Things were looking up for Tony, and his girlfriend came back to him when she saw that he was secure again. But something inside of Tony was beginning to change and take shape. His very essence was changing, and the nature of his songwriting was as well. He would go to practice or end up in the recording booth on recording day, making strange noises during recordings and drinking a lot to drown out what he kept hearing. All he could focus on was the music, and each day, more and more, it was slowly consuming him further. This was where he went from being regarded as Tony Maverick to becoming Tony, the destroyer of atonement. Each day further, his music grew more empty, skeletal, and violent. Every time he would record or write a song, it became more vicious and vile to the ears and to the sensibilities of all who heard it, until his own girlfriend left him once more after seeing how much the music had changed him. Tony Maverick was gone, a husk of his former self, and in his pursuit of rock and roll greatness and a legendary status as a musician, it costed him his life. Tony Maverick died at the young age of 27, having suffered a stroke from a failed liver and a massive blood clot in his brain. He was pronounced brain dead before he even arrived at the hospital. But contrary to popular belief, there are many who say that he is not truly dead, and that they see him play performances at major rock and roll events like Ozfest still. There is only one major flaw with them arguing this point. Tony, one of my bandmates and closest friends, has been dead for years, and the stage that people keep seeing is not the stage that Tony would perform on. No, it is the stage of Abatal, the entity that came to help Tony that night and possessed him. I may not have had such an amazing career as a guitarist with Tony had it not been for that thing. But it took my friend's life far too soon, and I won't forgive it anytime soon. I have some words of advice, though, for those who continue to say that they keep seeing Tony perform and are offered backstage. Don't go backstage. It may seem like an offer you can't refuse when it comes to meeting the Tony Maverick, but it is one backstage area you will never leave. All who have gone backstage to try and meet Tony have never returned, because what they are seeing is no longer Tony, it is Abatal, and he will consume your very life essence if he can get a hold of you. Beware of Abatal, and beware of Tony2Metal.